What happens when two of the world's closest neighbors suddenly find themselves in an economic showdown? That's exactly the question facing the United States and Canada after President Donald Trump reignited trade tensions with fresh tariffs on Canadian imports. And this isn't some minor squabble, it's a high-stakes back and forth with billions of dollars on the line, vital industries at risk, and political leaders scrambling to defend their economies. Canada, far from backing down, has responded with sharp countermeasures of its own. But how did we get here and what happens next? Stick around as we break down what's really going on behind the headlines, because this is about more than just tariffs. It's about economic survival, political strategy, and the future of North American trade. And hey, before we dive deeper, if you find this analysis helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and share this video with others following these global trade stories. When President Trump announced a 1-month delay to the planned 25% tariffs on Canadian imports, now scheduled to kick in on April 2nd, it was clear that tensions were about to escalate. While the delay bought both sides a little time, Canada wasted no time in making its position known. Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc declared that Canada would hold off on a second wave of retaliatory tariffs valued at $125 billion until April 7th, but the first set of tariffs, targeting $30 billion worth of U.S. goods, remained fully active. The message from Canada was loud and clear. They are prepared to play hardball, balancing immediate economic pushback with a longer-term strategy to protect their industry. What makes this trade fight even more interesting is how individual provinces are stepping up with their own responses. Take British Columbia, for example. With its strategic position as a key gateway between the U.S. mainland and Alaska, BC has proposed legislation to impose tolls on commercial vehicles heading to Alaska. Premier David Eby made no secret of the fact that this move is aimed directly at sending a message to Trump administration and Alaska's political leadership. But BC isn't stopping there. They're also pushing for new rules that require low-carbon fuel additives to be produced in Canada and working to eliminate internal trade barriers so the country is less reliant on U.S. markets moving forward. To ensure BC stays ahead in this growing economic standoff, Premier Eby has set up several specialized task forces. These include teams focusing on trade and economic security, agriculture and food supply, and the ongoing softwood lumber dispute. Each of these groups is designed to protect BC's industries and come up with creative ways to shield the province from the fallout of U.S. tariffs. A new cabinet committee is also overseeing BC's broader strategy, making sure no opportunity is missed to defend local businesses, workers, and economic interests. Now, while British Columbia may be getting a lot of attention, it's far from the only province taking bold action. Nova Scotia's Premier Tim Houston had condemned the tariffs and launched its own set of retaliatory moves, including banning U.S. businesses from bidding on government contracts and doubling tolls on the Quebequid Pass for American commercial trucks. U.S.-made alcoholic beverage pulled right off the shelves in Nova Scotia's liquor stores. In Alberta, Premier Danielle Smith has called the tariffs an outright economic attack and announced Alberta's own countermeasures are on the way. Alberta is also doubling down on national unity with a renewed push for removing internal trade barriers and advancing key energy projects like pipelines and LNG facilities that are critical to the province's economy. And the wave of responses keeps growing. Manitoba has removed American alcohol from provincial liquor marts, while Newfoundland and Labrador's Premier Andrew Furey denounced the tariffs as illegal and immediately cut off U.S. goods and services from government procurement. At the same time, they are working hard to grow trade ties with partners beyond the U.S., signaling a shift toward greater market diversification. Speaking of diversification, that's quickly becoming Canada's big picture strategy. With so much uncertainty coming from the US, Canada is speeding up efforts to reduce its dependence on its southern neighbor. Thanks to free trade agreements like the CPTPP and CETA, Canadian businesses are being encouraged to expand into Europe, Asia, and Latin America. The government is backing these moves with grants and financial support, helping industries pivot to new markets. Provinces are doing their part too, with BC seeking international buyers for new projects and Atlantic provinces ramping up seafood exports to Europe. There's also a growing focus on deepening ties with Mexico and other CPTPP members to create a wider trade network that doesn't revolve around the US. At this point, what do you think of these moves? Should Canada keep fighting back with tough countermeasures, or is it time to focus on negotiations? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your take on whether this strategy is the right one. Of course, none of this is happening in a vacuum. US-Canada trade tensions have a long, complicated history. One of the most famous disputes is the softwood lumber battle that started all the way back in 1982. For decades, the US lumber industry has claimed Canada gives unfair subsidies to its producers, leading to rounds of tariffs, legal fights, and temporary deals that never seem to last. And that's just one example. There's also been drama over dairy quotas, country of origin labeling rules for meat, and more. Past US administrations have slapped tariffs on Canadian goods before, from the Smoot-Hawley Tariffs Act of 1930 to President Nixon's 10% import surcharge in 1971 and George W. Bush's steel tariffs in 2002. Recent history is particularly instructive. Just a few years ago, during Trump's first term, Canada was hit with steel and aluminum tariffs under the pretense of national security. Canada fired back with its own tariffs, and after a tense standoff, the two countries negotiated an updated trade agreement through the USMCA. That episode proved that firm, coordinated retaliation can bring the US back to the table, and that Canada does best when it presents a united front. Legally, Canada has several tools at its disposal to fight back against these new tariffs. Officials argue the tariffs violate both the USMCA and WTO rules and can challenge them through formal dispute resolution processes. But legal cases can take over a year to play out, and in the meantime, Canada isn't standing still. With retaliatory tariffs already in place, Canada is also exploring the use of USMCA remedial clauses and potential domestic legal actions. But in the end, history suggests that legal victories alone won't solve this. It's negotiation and political pressure that ultimately get results. That's why Canada's broad, strategic, and united response is so important right now. So as this trade fight continues, one thing is certain. Both sides are digging in, and the ripple effects are going to be felt across industries and borders for some time to come. If you made it this far, thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive into US-Canada trade tensions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on future updates like this one. And as always, thanks so much for watching.